listening to the Rookie Big Board Podcast Network.
Welcome into the Dynasty Big Board, part of the Rookie Big Board Podcast Network. I'm your host, Anthony Carenti, joined by my two co-hosts, Ryan Searfoss and Eric Adams. On today's show, we're going to be discussing the AFC East as we continue working through some of these projections with a little bit of a twist. We're kind of breaking it into some smaller positional group battles. So AFC East, we're going to be talking quarterbacks, and then later wide receivers, and then some tight ends as well. Before we get into today's topic, just a reminder, we want to make sure that you know you can gain access to Rookie Big Board premium content at patreon.com/theFFeducator. This includes dynasty rankings, Devy rankings, access to the awesome Discord channel, and the ability to ask all of us for personalized advice on trades, your roster, and much, much more. So head on over to patreon.com/theFFeducator for as little as $3 a month and gain access to a ton of awesome content. So let's talk some quarterbacks in the AFC East. Tua Tagovailoa is, the elder statesman behind only Josh Allen, who will leave Josh Allen out of this. We just said off air. It's going to be a monster projection. I don't think it would be a shock to anybody if he was almost our consensus, QB1 for the 2022 season. But Tua, Mac, Zach got some stuff they could all kind of take steps forward or improve on in certain areas. So Ryan, why don't you kick us off? What are your thoughts, or how'd your projections work out between Tagovailoa, Mac, and Zach Wilson in the AFC East?
So I did my projections. I didn't look at the total points for them, and holy cow, are they close! I have all three quarterbacks within 3 points of each other.
Wow!
I didn't realize they're going to be that close. I have Mac Jones edging out the competition, but like I said, I'm at 275, 274, 272. I think they're all in for a really big upgrade this year. I don't know. I want to see how you guys have first when we dive in on how we have them statted out. But man, they're close. They're all situations are perfect for them.
Eric, what do you think? And I'll kind of let you go first. How do you have these three stacked up in terms of where you projected them? Who, not overall QB1, but of these three, how do you have them 1, 2, 3?
I actually have Tua on the top.
Okay, so do I.
This doesn't feel right, but Tua's on top. And then it's only by 7 points. 7 points. I got Mac in second, and then 2 points below him. I have Zach. So, like Ryan said, they're very close. They're very close. You just want to see step up years. All right, Mac, I understand had the good rookie year. Zach was starting to turn it on at the end. Tua, you want to see really modest improvement this year. They all have something to prove this year, and I do agree with Ryan. I think they all do. I think they all are set up for very nice seasons.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. The situation's pretty good for everybody. All the teams made some improvements. I have Tua, the highest of these three. The margin is so small. I have Tua with 272.6 fantasy points and Mac Jones with 272.1. So literally half a point was the difference between Tua and Mac for me.
And even that's so close to mine. I'm at 274 and 275. So even person to person, which we don't talk about before the show, within 3 points of each other.
I'm a little higher than
you
guys.
You're always.
I'm a high guy this year. I have high hopes.
Eric, what's your Tua stat line?
So I have him throwing the ball 600 times compared to. I don't even understand. First of all, before we even get into this, how they were one of the most inefficient passing attacks. You've
crazy,
ever seen
right?
Last year, how do you throw the ball 615 times and you can't hit 4,000 yards? That's bad. And I understand, they were trying to try out 2 offensive coordinators last year. There was half of Devontae Parker and Jalen Waddle to throw to. Gesicki's a nice target, and then that's really it. Preston Williams, we had Preston Williams on the sheet, and he was a healthy scratch at the end of the season by season's end. Yeah. That's not great.
They made Waddle inefficient at 10-1. Waddle was 10-1 reception. He's a big play guy. It didn't make sense.
I actually kind of feel like that is what Jalen Waddle is. I think he's that type of slot guy. I think he does. I think he should have more like pop off plays, but that type of Swiss Army knife underneath guy is how he's going to cut up teams.
I agree, but I think he can do more after the catch. But
he definitely can. He definitely.
I think Tyreek Hill helps that.
It was surprising to see 10-1 because it was like, wow, that's I also think that kind of speaks to the type of quarterback that Tua has been his first 2 years. That's the unfortunate part. My stat line for Tua, 600 attempts. Completion percentage is great, but who gives a crap about completion percentage? It's 66. 4,432 yards. I do not feel good about that at all. 28 touchdowns. Again, don't feel good about that at all. And 12 picks. And then on the ground, I got him for 34 attempts, 103 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. He seems to always squeak in for 3 rushing touchdowns, so that's kind of his thing. And that gets him to 293. That's a good year. I think if you're a Tua owner, I think you're signing up for that right now. So
the two rushing touchdowns are basically our difference. I'm at 4,211 yards, 28 touchdowns, 12 picks, 116 on the ground, 1 touchdown.
You also have him at 28 touchdowns, you said?
I do.
Okay, good. So we're optimistic. I like it.
We're all reasonably close. I'm the lowest in terms of touchdowns, but yeah, I have him with 4,200 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, 10 picks, and 2 rushing scores. So I was a little lower in terms of passing touchdowns, but we're all reasonably close within each other.
Very.
How far off is Mac Jones? And then we'll wrap up with Zach Wilson for the quarterbacks. I'll tell you, I had Mac throwing for 4,100 yards, but I gave him 28 passing touchdowns and 11 picks and a rushing touchdown for good measure. Yeah. Fuss, what did your stat line for Mac Jones look like? Again, I was 272 and change for fantasy points for me.
I was at 275. I have 4,265 in the air. Another 28 touchdowns, 13 picks, 124 on the ground, and squeaking 1 in, which I feel like he might have more rushing touchdowns because I feel like that's part of the Patriots thing.
He
QB sneak.
He's pretty good. Rushing. He doesn't get enough credit for actually being a pretty mobile guy.
No, he's not as unmobile as people act like he is.
Yeah, people think he's like Brady 2.0 when it comes to the rushing. It's like no. He can run. It's just
mobile's word.
His rate is just looks bad because, like Ryan said, they do a ton of QB sneaks, and that really tanks your rushing average.
Yeah, I feel like they only run him on like 3rd and 1, 4th and 1.
Yeah,
because they fall forward.
I want him to like tuck the ball and run a little more this year because there are times last year where he did it, but like he can get away with a couple of them. We saw it in the Pro Bowl, which doesn't mean anything. I surprisingly not am higher on Mac Jones than you guys are.
For the brand, baby.
286 for fantasy points. It's not like a drastic change, but y'all got him at 28 touchdowns. Why can't we just squeak in 2 more and give him his first 30 passing touchdown season? Give him 30 passing touchdowns. Come on. Bear with me a little bit here. I got him for 30 and 12. I think that's reasonable. 4,493 yards because he's a stud. Again, completion percentage does not matter. 68%. That seems to be his best weapon. 14 rush attempts, 45 rushing yards, 1 on the ground. So I didn't really project him out to do the rushing, but I really hope he does. I'm hopeful. So 286. That's like 7 below Tua. Mac's gonna be good, man. He's just uber efficient.
He's such a good QB2 for Superflex.
He really is.
Agreed.
That's where
honestly
he's solid right now.
I feel like Tua and Mac are safe QB2s.
I'd agree with that.
And I think that you get Zach Wilson as a swing for the fences.
Okay.
Like I think his upside is higher than either of them.
But how do you project Zach?
But I hedged it. I put him the lowest. I also did his projections I did his projections like 2 months ago. Because we did that when we did the rookie show. I wanted to see my Garrett Wilson projection. So it's probably going to have some tweaking to his more than the other guys. But his upside's huge, man. He has so many tools.
What's the Zach Wilson stat line for you?
573 attempts, 42-27 in the air. I have all like 4,200, 26 touchdowns, 13 picks, 191 on the ground, 1 touchdown.
Eric?
Only 1 rushing touchdown?
Hate multiple rushing touchdowns for quarterbacks.
I gave him 3. That boy can move.
He kind of can't move.
He can scramble. I can tell you.
Yeah, you got that stud in Brees Hall back there now. They ain't gonna have to.
That doesn't matter. When you blitz the guy and he's under pressure, he's got to run. He'll be running. Trust me. 580 attempts, so not far off on that. 4,047 yards. Zach, it's funny because I said that the completion percentage doesn't matter with the other two. His completion percentage is significantly lower. He's got to work on that. He has to complete more passes.
I have him at 62. I have the other guys around 67, 68.
I have him at 60, and I would like to see that number at 62 or 63. That's one of Zach Wilson's goals for this year. 4,047, 28 touchdowns, 12 picks. See, that right there is where people are going to look at our projections and be like, oh, well, you're just expecting way too much. I'm like, no, that's what I expect from the number 2 overall pick with this type of weaponry around him in this offense. This is a modest season for Zach Wilson. I could have went much higher, but this is the bar. I need him to hit these numbers. If he hits these numbers, I'm not worried about Zach Wilson at all. I'd sign up for this right now.
He has legit weapons.
He does. This is a good offense. This is a very good offense. If their O-line can hold it together, they have a shot to be a very effective offense.
I mean, week 1 they're not going to be, but after that, they don't look great.
I agree about the completion percentage thing. I mean, we saw it a couple times with Zach last year. He can make a big play, but he missed a lot of layups, and if he can get that part down, he could be really good. I think tempered expectations just a little more, not like significantly, but I gave him 612 attempts, completing 61% of passes. So it was 41-43, 23 touchdowns, 12 picks, and 2 rushing touchdowns to go along with 176 rushing yards. So the passing touchdowns number could be higher. The jaded, cynic Jets fan in me just had to tone it down a little bit, I think. But if I'm being honest, if he throws for 4,100 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 12 picks, I still feel very good about Zach.
Yeah, I would like that.
Yeah,
very much be on board with that.
So these 3 quarterbacks, they're all lumped pretty closely together. I think we're all pretty excited about all of them.
Zero hot takes on it, though.
Yeah, nothing too
zero
spicy.
hot takes. That's all they're good.
Who
would you draft if those 3 are on the board and you had to pick one?
For Dynasty?
Yeah.
We're talking Dynasty? In order, Mac, Zach, Tua. That's how I do it.
In order, I would go Zach, Mac, Tua.
I think Zach has the highest ceiling.
Yeah.
I think.
But potentially the lowest floor.
I think Zach. I think Zach, Mac, Tua.
Yeah. I just think Mac is super safe.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what we said, that he's the perfect QB2. He's I'm not comping them player for player, but for super flex fantasy purposes, he's going to be the next Kirk Cousins. You'll draft him at a discount and he'll always produce fringe quarterback 1 value. I
hate that Kirk Cousins thing. It's just I have a bad taste in my mouth with Kirk Cousins. I hate when people compare him.
I would rather.
Hey, he's a good fantasy quarterback though.
That's lovely. I need better. When it comes to real quarterbacking, I don't want him to be like Kirk Cousins.
Well, yeah, you need him to be more than Kirk Cousins in terms of real quarterbacking. Yeah.
Mac Attack Jones, baby. Mac 10.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for these quarterbacks. We'll be back with some wide receivers shortly. Make sure you are subscribed to the Rookie Big Board YouTube channel so that you don't miss the next installment covering the wide receivers. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Dynasty Big Board or watching on YouTube. And we'll be back with the wide receiver battle from the AFC East.
Later, taters.